Hello and welcome back to Mountain Patriot Homestead. Recently I had put out a video about beginning foraging, and I had put out a challenge to you about going outside and just identifying one plant that you have in perhaps abundance or even available just in your yard or in your immediate vicinity that you could use for foraging. Well, I want to thank 420 Love Sounds for participating in this challenge and letting us know that they have a large amount of violets in their area. You know, the plant violets, the blooms. So that is a wonderful example of just an edible and medicinal in one little powerhouse of a plant that 420 Love Sounds has available in their area. Now, today I wanted to talk a little bit about, once you identify what's in your area, how do you know what to use? Well, let's not jump the gun. Let's talk first of all about identifying what you have in your area. How do you know what you have? Now, if you are a botanist or an herbalist and you know exactly what you're looking at, that is wonderful. However, even on things that I am pretty certain what they are, it's the pretty certain part that you should be a little concerned about, because you should be absolutely certain what you're looking at before you use it for anything. As you can see here before me, I have stacks of resource books. And not only do I use these books, but I use my computer, I use my phone, I have apps that will help me at least point me in a general direction, because I've noticed on some of those apps they're not real accurate, but they will at least point me in the general direction, and then I can use these other resources to positively identify what I'm looking at. Now, to me, that is the number one most important thing that you can do, is properly identify the plants that you're looking at, because if you are wrong, it could mean literally the difference between life and death. And I'm not trying to exaggerate here. It's the difference between, for example, Queen Anne's lace and hemlock. Some of it looks very much alike, but if you know a little bit about the identification of the two, you can successfully forage the correct plant and utilize that plant. But I do have quite a bit of resources that I own, because what I do is a lot of times I will see what other people, I will listen. Now, let me explain something to you on my YouTube channel. There are a lot of YouTube channels that are afraid to mention anybody else's YouTube channel because, oh, that's the competition. You don't want to send people away from your channel. Well, I'll tell you what, on my channel, you're my friends, and I want to share with you what I find useful. And if that's another YouTube channel, then why wouldn't I share that? Because, you know, I don't feel like I'm competing. You know, there's some of these people, there's no way I could compete against them. They just are way too knowledgeable for me to be any competition for them. And so if I can share information with you that helps you as my friends be able to be successful in whatever, whether it's foraging, whether it's some other aspect of homesteading, then why wouldn't I do that? So I just want to let you know that sometimes I will mention other YouTube channels and refer you to them, because I just think that's the right thing to do. But today, I just wanted to talk briefly about the books that I have here. First of all, one of the first sets of books that I got was the National Audubon Society's books that are the Field Guide to Wildflowers. Now, these are for the eastern region and western region, and depending on where you live, could depend on which book would help you more. Since I pretty much live right in the center of the country, I come across plants out of both of these books. And the thing is you may be saying, well, I'm not looking for wildflowers, I'm looking for medicinal or edible plants. Most plants have flowers, and if you can identify the flowers and the stems and the leaves, then you are well on your way to properly identifying the plant itself. Now, I suggest never use one resource because mistakes can be made in books, or you can look at a flower or a stem or bark or whatever you're looking at, and you may say, well, that looks pretty close. Well, if you utilize one of these other resources, and not just two, use at least 3 resources, if not more, to identify something 100%, because again, you don't want to be wrong. But I use these are wildflower books, and as I go on with more of these videos, if y'all like these videos, I'll continue making more of them. And we'll talk more in depth about some of these books. This one is Field Guide to Mushrooms. Mushrooms are something that I'm interested in, but I have not really gotten out and done a whole lot of foraging for mushrooms because it's one area that I feel very weak in when it comes to identification. And so I am teaching myself before I really jump off into it. And I know you can't see this here on the binding, but I actually bought this book, this National Audubon Society book. As you can see, has beautiful pictures and things in them. But this book, brand new, I bought it at a thrift store for 75 cents. Don't overlook your thrift stores for finding a lot of these books, because people will get into it thinking they want to do it and then don't. Now, I have one stack of books here that these are my resource books for edible plants, for edible wild plants. And this one here, you can see I have really, if you can see the pages here, I have really got them marked up and stuff, because this is one that I really like to use. It's Edible Wild Plants, a North American Field Guide. And it takes you not only through the plants themselves, but also what season those plants are most prevalent and when it's best to forage from certain plants. So this one is a really good one. It's Edible Wild Plants, a North American Guide. And then I just have others. I'm not going to really go through each one of them. I just want to just quickly show you there are a lot of resources out there to choose from, and there are even more that I would really like to have because they are such good resources. So I'm not done collecting. It's just as I come across them, I will get more. And if you can find resources for your area, nab them up. This is just a little, as you can see, it's more of a booklet than a book, but it is Wild Edible Plants of Arkansas by Charles W. Kane. And you can come across a lot of books for almost any region that you live in. So keep an eye open for books that are specific for your area. But don't overlook those that include even for other areas, because you never know when you may wind up in another area and need that information. Just here's another one, Wild Edibles by Sergey Butinko. I hope I pronounced that. This young man has videos too, and he's very knowledgeable. I like his information. Samuel Thayer, Nature's Gardens, Edible Wild Plants. I'm sorry, I'm just quickly going through these. I promise you we will have other videos that more in-depth look at these. Here is The Forager's Harvest about edible wild plants. Another one by Samuel Thayer, that's Incredible Wild Edibles, 36 Plants That Can Change Your Life. Here's one that the very last one that I got, that after I went to Baker Creek Seed Company's Harvest Festival, there was a lady there, and I've mentioned her before, Rachel West, that does a program called Eating the Ozarks. I was so impressed listening to her that I came back home and I ordered her book called Wild Foraged, and it is pretty much plants that are in my area, in the Ozarks here. So come in very handy, and I've already used several of her recipes, including the persimmon vinegar that I have, that's steeping, that I'll be finishing out here in a few weeks. So, you know, don't overlook, again, those things that are in your area that can be super helpful in helping you forage, but not just forage, and because it doesn't matter if you forage it if you have no idea what to do with it once you've got it. So books like this and these that tell you how to use them, those are the most helpful, at least in my opinion. I'm sure some of you have seen these books, probably, if nothing else, if you're interested in foraging at all, they've popped up on your Facebook page or whatever. But here's like The Lost Superfoods, 126 plus survival foods and tips for your stockpile. It's got lots of pictures in it. I don't know about y'all, but I'm still like a little kid. I like lots of good, clear pictures to help me. And this one is The Forager's Guide to Wild Foods. And this is by Nicole Apelian, Apelian, PhD. And lots of information, lots of pictures in it as well. And that is my resources that I use for the edibles. Now, it also, most of these do include information for medicinal, but this is my stack that I use the most for my medicinal information. And again, this is one you can see I have got tabs and tags and everything all in it. And it's the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. And I had flipped it open to the page because 420 Love Sounds had talked about having violets in their area. So I flipped open here just to show there's a lot of information, a lot of things that violets are good for. Not only are they edible, but a very good medicinal for so many different things. Everything like here, sore throats all the way to laxatives, hemorrhoids to whooping cough, insect bites to anti-inflammatories. So, you know, that little bitty violet that looks very petite and delicate is a lot stronger than you think it is. So this is one of my remedies books. I've got the Peterson Field Guide to Medicinal Plants and Herbs. Again, all of these, like I said, they come with so many pictures. All of these books, that's why I love them, because if they don't have a lot of pictures to help me identify exactly what I'm getting, I don't want them. This is one that is the Complete Beginner's Guide to Herbalism. It's not just foraging. These are plants that you could grow in your garden, but it's also, a lot of them are things that grow wild. that you may not realize is in your area. You may not realize, hey, I can use that. That rosemary that I have in my cabinet that I use on, in dressings or on meats or whatever, I can actually use that as a medicinal. Yes, you can. So there's a lot of things in your cabinet that you may not realize you can use medicinally that you already have on hand. This is the Native American Herbalist Bible. It's a 10-in-1 book, and it is just filled with information and old-time cures, the way the Native Americans used it, and what each thing was used for, and just not only what it was used for, but how to use it. And a lot of information in this one book. Like I said, it's 10-in-1, the Native American Herbalist Bible. This is the Advanced Herbal Pharmacy. Again, a lot of times we think of herbs as things that we've just grown purposely, but a lot of times those herbs are growing wild out there that we're not aware of until we really open our eyes. This one is more formulas and more scientific, but if you are really wanting to get into what combinations work best for what cures, what healing powers certain combinations have, this is a very good start for that, because this is a good book. And this is wipe the dog hair off. This is the Holistic Guide to Wellness. Again, it's by Nicole Appeline. I know I'm butchering her name, and I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't mean to. But again, herbal protocols for common ailments. Again, very good book. Lots of information, not a lot of pictures. If you want a book that is specifically going to get down into the nitty-gritty of everything, this is a book for it. I would put these two books as being the more scientific in nature, if you are really getting in depth into your whole herbal medicines. So those are the resources that I have on hand. Like I said, I use my computer, I use my cell phone, I use other people that know what they're talking about, and I use a lot of other YouTube videos. She is of the Woods is one that I listen to. Now, Miss April, some people think, well, she's a little very, outspoken. I like people that speak what they're thinking. Miss April is one of these that believes that you can do this, that you don't need a PhD to be able to forage and to be able to use plants that are in the wild. And so I love Miss April for that. And she breaks down everything into such simple methods that anybody can follow her. And so she is of the Woods, April Graham. She is, you can find her on YouTube. I'm trying to think what the other, there is one called, I try to start telling you and I forget the names of them. I think it's the Honeystead Homestead. I'll have to double check, but it's some like Honeystead something. And the little girl on there, I say girl, I'm sorry, I just, sometimes my verbiage is not what it should be. She's not a little girl, but the woman that does this show, she is very knowledgeable, but she's so personable. And so I love watching her and her mom and the things that they put together from the things that they find on their homestead. There is another one called, I think it's the Appalachian Forager. She's hilarious. I love watching her stuff. And so just get out there and watch people that know what they're doing, that are foraging, that are already doing this stuff, and don't be afraid to get started. That's the number one rule. Get out there, get started, because till you take that first step out your door, you're not going to find anything. Well, I am going to hush for now, but I am so glad that you came. Thank y'all for joining me. Love y'all. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.